I am 78 years old, and if you think you have time to fix the important things later, I need you to sit with the discomfort of hearing that from someone who believed it until there was no later left. I lived most of my life assuming time was something patient, something that waited its turn. I thought life kept a quiet ledger, that if I delayed what mattered now, it would balance itself out eventually. I thought effort counted more than presence, and intention mattered more than action. I was wrong in a way that cannot be corrected. I am not saying that to shock you. I am saying it because at my age, there is no benefit in softening what is already sharp. From the outside, my life looked correct. That word mattered to me for a long time. Correct. I worked steadily, I paid my bills on time, I showed up where I was expected to show up. I did not disappear, and I did not implode. People trusted me. People described me as dependable, serious, committed. I took pride in that. I thought responsibility itself was love, that endurance was a form of care. I believed that if I kept everything stable, the people closest to me would understand why I wasn't always there in the ways that mattered. I woke up early for decades. I commuted. I sat in rooms where nothing personal was said, but everything felt important. I made decisions that sounded reasonable when spoken out loud. I postponed vacations. I shortened phone calls. I came home tired enough to believe I had earned my absence. When my children wanted to show me something, I told them to wait a minute. When my partner wanted to talk, I said, "Not tonight." I said it kindly. I said it calmly. I said it with the confidence of someone who believed there would be another chance tomorrow. I told myself I was doing it for them. That was the most convincing part of the lie. I told myself that stability required sacrifice, and sacrifice meant delay. I believed that once things were secure enough, I would relax into the life I was building. I believed my family would understand why I was always reaching for later. Later dinners, later conversations, later attention, later presence. I thought understanding was guaranteed by love alone. The days filled up quietly. Nothing dramatic happened for a long time. No disasters, no scandals, just accumulation. Workdays stacked on top of each other. Evenings blurred. Weekends became errands. Years passed without announcing themselves. I remember thinking more than once, that time was moving faster than it used to, but I treated that thought like a passing comment, not a warning. Then something happened that does not care how responsible you were. The event itself was simple. A phone call, a sentence delivered without cruelty, just facts. A body failed. A heart stopped. A life ended in a way that could not be negotiated with effort or explanation. There was no drama in the room when I heard the words, no swelling music, just the quiet knowledge that a door had closed and would not open again. I did not fall to the floor. I did not scream. I sat down because my legs no longer had a reason to hold me. Only after the facts settled did the weight arrive. Not all at once. It came in pieces. It came in the spaces where conversations should have been. It came in the realization that there were things I had assumed were understood but had never actually been said. It came in the knowledge that there were moments I had postponed that could no longer be lived, even badly. Death is irreversible in a way that rearranges your understanding of time. It turns later into a word without meaning. It exposes every delay for what it was, a decision, not an accident, not a misunderstanding, a choice made repeatedly with the assumption that consequences could be deferred. The lie I lived by was simple, and it sounded generous. I believed my family would understand. I believed love translated automatically into forgiveness for absence. I believed explanations could replace presence. I believed that as long as my intentions were good, the timing didn't matter. I believed that people could feel prioritized even when they were postponed. Most people believe this. They just phrase it differently. They say things like, "I'm doing this for us," or "they know how much I care," or "this is just a busy season." They say after things calm down, or "once this phase is over." They say later as if it's a location they can eventually reach. They use calm voices and reasonable language to hide the fact that they are trading moments that do not return for a future that is not guaranteed. What hurts is not that I missed the big events. I was there for birthdays. I showed up for ceremonies. I smiled in photographs. What hurts is the ordinary moments I treated as optional. The moments that did not look important enough to protect. I missed the sound of my child explaining something poorly because they were still learning how words worked. I missed the way their face changed when they realized I wasn't really listening. I missed afternoons where nothing was happening except time being shared. I missed sitting without purpose. I missed the chance to be bored together. I remember one evening when my partner sat at the table long after dinner was finished. I remember the light in the room, the way it fell on the surface of the wood. I remember thinking I should stay, but choosing instead to clean up quickly and retreat into distraction. I told myself there would be another night like that. I told myself this one didn't matter. I missed the habit of checking in without a reason. I missed asking questions that didn't lead anywhere productive. I missed hearing about small frustrations before they hardened into silence. I missed the tone of voice that comes before distance becomes permanent. There were mornings when everyone else was awake and unhurried, and I chose efficiency instead. I rushed, I shortened, I trimmed conversations down to logistics. I treated warmth as expendable. I told myself I would make it up later. I missed the chance to notice changes as they happened. When people grow quietly, you only realize it when it's too late to recognize who they used to be. I missed the gradual shifts. I missed the subtle signs of disappointment because they were expressed softly, and I was always in a hurry. I missed listening without planning my response. I missed sitting through stories I had already heard. I missed the repetition that builds closeness. I missed the slow accumulation of shared memory that does not announce itself as valuable while it's happening. I missed the last time my child reached for my hand without thinking about it. I did not know it was the last time. That is how these things work. They do not inform you of their importance in advance. I missed the opportunity to apologize when it would have mattered. I assumed understanding would cover it. I assumed love would translate silence correctly. I assumed wrong. There were moments I was physically present, but mentally elsewhere. Those count as missed too. The presence is not proximity. I learned that too late. I missed hearing laughter from another room and choosing to join it. I missed staying longer when I could have left early. I missed choosing people over productivity in ways that would not have cost me anything I truly needed. None of these moments felt critical at the time. That is the danger. They felt small, optional, replaceable. They felt like things that could be postponed without consequence. They were wrong about that. Now, when I sit alone, those moments line up in my memory with a clarity that feels cruel. Not because they were dramatic, but because they were available. They were offered repeatedly. I declined them politely, assuming the offer would remain open. You think you are managing time. You are not. Time is managing you quietly, without negotiation. If you are watching this, you are likely doing what I did. You are telling yourself that the people in your life understand your absences. You are explaining delays as temporary. You are assuming emotional accounts can be settled later. You are mistaking patience for permission. You tell yourself that being tired justifies withdrawal. You tell yourself that providing excuses presence. You tell yourself that consistency in one area compensates for absence in another. You tell yourself that once you slow down, you will reconnect. You tell yourself you will notice then. Ask yourself something uncomfortable. Who in your life is currently being postponed? Who are you assuming will still be there when you are finally ready to show up fully? What conversations are you delaying because they feel inconvenient now? Look at how often you use the word later. Listen to how easily it comes out of your mouth. Notice how rarely you question it. You are not cruel. I wasn't either. You are just convinced that time is more forgiving than it is. You are convinced that love stretches endlessly, that understanding fills in gaps automatically. It does not. The truth, reduced to its simplest form, is not complicated. People remember how you made them feel more clearly than they remember why you were absent. Attention is not something you can stockpile and distribute later. Presence does not compound with interest. The other truth is that loss does not always announce itself with drama. Sometimes it arrives as distance that becomes permanent. Sometimes it arrives as silence that no one bothers to break anymore. Sometimes it arrives as a death that leaves you with too much time and too few places to put it. You do not need a complete life overhaul. I am not saying that. I am saying you need to stop assuming that what you postpone will remain available. You need to understand that delay is a decision, even when it feels too passive. At my age, time has narrowed. There are fewer opportunities to repair what was neglected. The margin for correction is thin. I live with that knowledge every day. You do not have to. You still have time that feels abundant. That is exactly when it is most dangerous to treat it casually. You still believe in later? I am asking you to question that belief before it costs you something you cannot replace. If there is someone you keep assuming will understand, stop assuming. Show them instead. If there is a moment you are tempted to postpone because it feels ordinary, stay with it. Ordinary is where life actually happens. I am not asking you to panic. I am asking you to notice. Notice how often you trade presence for efficiency. Notice how easily you explain absence to yourself. Notice how quietly time moves while you are busy being reasonable. I have very little time left. That is not a metaphor. That is a fact. You have more. Use it differently than I did. Do not wait for later to prove what matters to you. Some lessons only arrive when it is too late to apply them fully. This does not have to be one of those lessons for you. Do not leave this sitting in your head as something you will think about later. That is how it disappears. Go now. Sit where you usually rush past. Stay longer than planned. Speak before silence hardens. Choose presence while it is still available. Later is not promised.